right. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes on their national title win. I will say I really firmly believe that the national title game needs to be on a Saturday. College football, like Saturday is college football. I feel like that just makes the most sense. One of my friends said Goodell said they're going to try to work with the NCAA on that. They really should. Divisional weekend is probably the best weekend in the NFL. I mean, I think every game this weekend is pretty good. Probably the worst was Texans-Chiefs. I'd say so. Sunday was obviously really, really elite, both games. Interestingly enough, it looked like we were going to have a comeback in both of them, and then neither of them actually did. On the Sunday games, at least, I just think it's kind of intriguing. But they could work with college football and say, hey, can we'll do a 1 o'clock and a 3 o'clock on Saturday, like a 1 o'clock and a 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then you get an 8 p.m. slot. And so it's just like a Saturday of football. But then, your marquee game, you can still have that Sunday night football game, Sunday for the NFL. Make both your big games Sunday, 1 at 3, 1 at 6:30. Same type of system that the NFL's running. They would just lose that Saturday night game, which I understand is like a bit of like you're losing a night game. But at the same time, like I think people are still going to tune in. You're the NFL. The NFL's king. I can do it at once. I always do a Super Bowl prediction, like a blind one for the next year at the end of the current Super Bowl. Like I'll be doing my Super Bowl 60 prediction at the end of Super Bowl 59, but I just don't. I don't think I should do that for college football. There's too many variables. I mean, if you really ask me right now, to me, like I feel like the obvious pick for next year would just be Ohio State again. A lot of talent on that roster, and they're not losing like a ton. They're not really not losing anybody. Like I'm saying, they're obviously losing their quarterback. They're going to figure out if they're going to go Sayan, but they still have the best wide receiver in college football. Ryan Williams the second. I mean, Jeremiah Smith was just absolutely absurd. And even though they're losing a lot of pieces, the fact they have Jeremiah Smith gives me faith in that roster. So I would love to see Michigan be a lot stronger next year. I think it'd be fun. I think within the next couple years, we are going to get a Michigan-Ohio State national championship, and that is going to be absolutely electric, and I cannot wait for that day. Let's get into the NFL, though. That's what we're all here for, right? Pretty upset about the Detroit Lions loss. Obviously, I took them to win the Super Bowl a few weeks back. I firmly, in my heart, believed this was the best team in the NFL. I really did. And it was very upsetting to watch that kind of crumble before my eyes. It's like it's one of those games you're just like, okay, well, they're going to come back. Well, they're going to come back. And then it's like, wait a minute, they're not going to come back. Oh my gosh, is this over? Is this it? And it was. And that was just heartbreaking. Like it really was. Like I was just like what are we doing? Like I really love this Lions team. I really love what Dan Campbell's done. I really love Jared Goff. I just think it's such a fun team, and it's such an entertaining team. And I just think it's kind of deeply upsetting to see them go this early, because I think this was America's team. I think a lot of people really like this team. I think a lot of people wanted that Bills-Lions Super Bowl that I had predicted. I think that was like the ideal one for the majority of NFL fans, because I think a lot of fans really like Josh Allen on this Bills team. I think a lot of fans really like the Lions and this team, much like me, and it's really disappointing to see that go. Let's talk about the Ben Johnson thing. So Ben Johnson, I've given a lot of credit. Well, yeah, I have. I mean, I think he's done a very good job in Detroit. He obviously was the one who's gotten a lot of credit for a lot of the success they've had. Obviously, Dan Campbell has too. Obviously. But Aaron Glenn's got a lot of credit for the defense too. It looks like both of them are going to be heading out. Aaron Glenn's probably going to go coach the Saints or the Jaguars. Ben Johnson has just officially taken the job of Chicago Bears. So those kids who pranked Caleb Williams are actually correct. Ben Johnson's made some incredible plays. Ben Johnson has done some crazy stuff with Detroit. He really has. Ben Johnson was the hot coach hire of the offseason. Ben Johnson declined to coach my Carolina Panthers last year. We got Dave Canales. I'm very happy with that. Ben Johnson was the hire for the last 2 years now. Like, he's been the one that people wanted. He's going to the Bears. And I firmly believe last year he would have went to the Bears if the opportunity was open. I think he stayed with the Lions because, like now knowing what we know, I think honestly he probably stayed with the Lions because he wanted the Bears job and it wasn't open last year. Everybody online's flipping out. Everybody is like, oh my gosh, what a great hire by the Bears, blah, blah, blah. And maybe this is me being emotional over the Lions loss because I really liked this team. But I think I'm going to zag here. Everybody's zigging, and I kind of don't agree. Now, here's the thing. Is it a very good hire for the Bears? Yes. This was, the prime coaching candidate for them. This was the top guy of the offseason. Everybody wanted to have. Great move by the Chicago Bears. No question about that. This is a great move for the Chicago Bears. But the idea, like everybody's just kind of like immediately being like, wow, Ben Johnson, everybody's going nuts for him. And there's a part of me that thinks, I just don't think he's as much of a sure thing as we're all giving him credit for. And here's why. We have obviously seen guys like Brandon Staley, like Adam Gase, like Matt Nagy, who are very hyped up to be head coaches, offensive gurus, and they just completely shit the bed. Now, granted, there's been Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Obviously, great coaches. Sean McVay, for my money, might be the best coach in the NFL at this point. At this point, I put him over Shanahan. Top three coaches for me, it's like Reed, McVay, Campbell. That's like my top three. Pretty undisputed in my mind. That's the top three. KOC is probably rounding out top five. I don't know, maybe Tomlin up there. I mean, at some point I gotta give McDermott credit. I wouldn't usually put him, but like you gotta give McDermott credit, right? And I'm not just saying that because he used to work for the Panthers. I mean, McDermott's very good, and years like, wow, Ryan, you're kicking Shanahan on the top five. Well, maybe, I don't know. It's a rough year to be a Shanahan backer. But here's what I want to point out about Ben Johnson. That's what I want to point out. I think I'm getting a little upset because it really rubs me the wrong way that you took a back-breaking loss Saturday. You won 15 games. You just lost some divisional to a commies team led by a rookie quarterback. And we're going to talk about Jayden Daniels later. And that's obviously very special. We're going to talk about that type of stuff. We're going to talk about what he's doing. But to 3 days later, be posting on the Bears social media, blah, blah, and this is where we wanted to be. That's exactly what he said. This is where we wanted to be. It's just not a good look. And granted, this is just kind of how it goes, right? You work your way up from a position coach to a coordinator to a head coach. And I think I'm a little pissed because I thought in my mind this Lions team was building something special and everybody was on board. And Ben Johnson wanted to be a head coach, and that's fine. I completely get that. I think it just feels a little weird this time because the division that cares the most about the rivalries is the AFC North. That's like undisputed in my mind. But second is the NFC North when it comes like really caring about the rivalries. And to go to the Bears from the Lions so seamlessly, and after that loss, that was a bad loss. Like, it really was. I get why Lions fans are pissed. I mean, I'm kind of like, really? It's just not the best look. I just don't think so. Like, you couldn't have waited a couple more days. Now, granted, I get it. Maybe that offer was just there for the time being. I'm just saying it's not great optics. It's not. Now, am I saying he lost the game on purpose? Hell no. No. No, of course not. Like, genuinely, I do not believe that. But I just think it's bad optics. Here's what I wanted to point out about Ben Johnson. Obviously, very good play designer, very good play caller. But I will say he does have a tendency in some big games to do, like, look at me moments. Like, look how smart I am. He gets a little too cute. And I think that's part of the reason they lost to Washington. Right? So let's look at, this is an interesting one. So I took notice of the fact that Jared Goff threw 40 passes against the Commies. That's a lot. That's a lot of passes for Jared Goff. Especially when you have an elite running duo. Obviously, David Montgomery's been hurt. I understand that. But Jahmyr Gibbs still very, very good, right? have Jared Goff throw the ball 40 times. It's a lot. It's like, okay, I felt like when they lost the Bills, Jared threw over 40 times. It's true. So the Lions this year, counting the playoffs, lost 3 games. The Lions this year had only 4 games in which Jared Goff threw 40 or more passes. All 3 of their losses, Jared Goff threw 40 or more passes. He threw 55 passes versus the Buccaneers in Week 2 when they lost 20-16. He threw 41 passes against the Green Bay Packers when they won 34-31. Keep in mind, very close game. He threw 59 passes against the Buffalo Bills, 48-42 loss. And then last Saturday against the Commies, he threw 40 passes and they lost 45-31. Granted, one could argue, well, they throw the ball more when they're losing. They're trying to get big plays. I understand that completely. I do. Because you look at the game, Jared Goff threw the least amount of passes. It's when he went 18 for 18, and they were demolishing the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, 42-29. I understand that. Well, technically that was the second least. His least was against the Titans, 15 passes. They won 52-14. So I am saying there is a bit of a correlation. When they win by a lot, Jared Goff throws less. He threw 30 passes, though, against the Jaguars, and they won 52-6. So, I mean, that's a bit of a higher number for a 52-6 win. Just want to say. But I will say I understand the fact he's going to throw more when they're losing. But I am saying I find it curious that when Jared Goff throws the ball more, when they're getting a lot, doing some cute shit on offense, they lose. And I don't think that's a slight on Jared. I don't, because I think we're all well aware of Jared's skill set. He is, if you name the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, he's about 10th. He is probably depending on where you sit on him, 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the NFC. Like I said, around 10th, probably 9, 10, 11, 12th, like that range of quarterback. He's at the level where you can win a Super Bowl with him, but you better have a very good roster. He's not at the I'm elevating talent level. He's not at the level where he's probably ever going to win an MVP. There was a little bit of chatter about that, and that was fun, but let's be realistic. That probably wasn't going to happen. That's where Jared Goff is at. And I am talking about it both sides of my mouth because I give him a lot of praise. But I am going to state, I think we're all well aware of where his skill set lies. I just think it's interesting. When they lose, it's when they overly rely on Jared Goff. Now, one could say, once again, is that a Jared Goff issue? Or is that a play calling issue? That they should be aware, hey, if we make Goff win us the game, we're probably not going to win. Let's go to some other pieces. Let's go to the run game. To me, after that loss to Buffalo on December 15th, your second loss of the year to a very good team, and you had Jared throw the ball 59 times. He gave you 494 yards. Like, he did everything he could. But you made him throw the ball 59 times. To me, that was the sign. Let's run the football. And clearly they knew that. Because the next 3 weeks, he threw 32 passes, 34 passes, and then 33 passes. He was right in the pocket. But then we jumped back up to 40 pass attempts. And you're like, well, that's only 7 more. That's a decent amount. It's a decent amount. And I just don't understand why they changed the game plan. So that brings me to my original point. Ben Johnson is choosing to leave a Detroit team that I truly think is going to be perennial contenders. Anybody saying this is the end of the Lions' run, I really don't think so. I think they're going to be really good next year. I really do. I think they're going to lock and load with coaches again. Are they ever going to have an OC or a DC as good as Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson? Maybe not. Right? Maybe Ben just magically found some electric coaches. Right? Maybe not. But I still think they're going to be very good next year. I really do. We've also seen teams lose coordinators and be completely fine. It's not like the Chiefs lost Matt Nagy and took a step back. They did not. Well, it's like, was Eric Bieniemy? I'm trying to think. What? I'm like, wait a minute. I should think about this before I say this. I'm like, how many did Eric Bieniemy? Was he the OC for the Super Bowl against the Eagles? Okay, he was. There, all right, that's fine. I was like, Eric Bieniemy got 2 Super Bowl wins, right? I was like, yeah, okay. Because I'm like, Nagy, I think Nagy has only the 1, right? Does he have 2? Okay, so he's Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl 54 with the Chiefs. And then Bieniemy was the OC for Super Bowl 57. Yeah, 57. Interesting. Okay. I think the Lions would be fine. I just think it's a bit of a dangerous move from Ben Johnson because I do think I've seen some. Everybody's going nuts for him. He's the big hire. He's the hot thing. I understand that. I hope he has immense success with the Chicago Bears. I do. It would be really fun if the Chicago Bears were good. And I think he seems like a good guy. And I'm probably a little pissed about the fact that Detroit Lions, a team that I really wanted to see win the Super Bowl, lost in divisional. But I am saying he has a tendency to get too cute. And that has cost Detroit. I think that's part of the reason they lost to Washington. You could also point to the fact they gave up 45 points. But I'm going to tell you this. The whole season, they've given up a lot of points to good teams. It's like, that 31-9 win over Minnesota was an anomaly. They gave up 34 points to San Francisco the week before. This Lions team, the defense has been beat up all year. They lost Hutchinson, and that was huge. And so, yeah, I didn't expect obviously 45 is a lot. I want to stay. Yes, that is a lot. But it shouldn't have been like that's the only reason they lost. I do think they were getting too cute, and I don't think the blame falls on Jared Goff. I really don't. I think they were asking a little too much of Jared, honestly. I think some of that goes back in the play calling. That's where I turn to Ben Johnson. I think it's a dangerous move by him to be in the same division as Dan Campbell and have to play him twice a year. I don't know. I just think because whether Dan Campbell says it or not, it's going to bother him a little bit. We lost a divisional game, and 3 days later, you're posting videos on Instagram about, bear down, baby, Chicago, we ready. It's probably pissed him off a little bit. Dan Campbell's a very loyal, I love my guys, I stick to my guys type of guy. It's going to piss him off. I just think it's a dangerous game to play when you're now accepting the fact you are going to play that Dan Campbell's team twice a year and potentially 3 times if you guys meet in the playoffs. Just think it's a dangerous game to play, especially when I wholeheartedly believe Detroit has the better roster. Really banking on yourself, Ben Johnson. You really are. So, dangerous games being played out there. It's going to be very interesting. But I don't think really the Lions are going to take a step back. I think they're going to be very good next year. I genuinely don't even think they're going to change that much. I think they're going to run less cutesy stuff. I think they're going to run the ball more, probably less passes and a lot more running of the football. Will they be better than the Bears? I honestly think they will. I genuinely think the Lions will probably be, I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what I do when I do that division next year. I have to decide where I'm going to sit on Minnesota. I might put the Bears last again. I'm being serious. We've done this before. Last offseason, we literally were like, oh, man, look at the Bears. Look at all this talent they acquired. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, now it's like, oh, well, now they got the coach. They got the coach right. And I'm like, okay, how often are we going to do this where it's like, oh, the Bears got it down. The Bears got it down. It's like, what if they don't? I don't know. I'm a lot more out on this than I thought I'd be. It just rubs me the wrong way. I think it'd be a lot different if the Lions won the NFC Championship, lost the Super Bowl, and then a couple days later, he's the Bears coach. I think it would bother me less. It's something, I don't know. It just isn't sitting with me right. It just really isn't. We need to move on, though, because I've been on this a while. I really thought the Rams had it. I really thought the Rams were going to win that game. Once Puka Nacua caught that pass, I really thought it was over. I thought that was that. And I think the weather was getting to Stafford. And anybody who's like, oh, the weather, I hate weather football. Come on. Come on. The idea that these weather games are a bad thing, I think is just completely stupid. And on top of that, like, if we're being honest, you play for home field advantage. That is why the divisions exist. That is why they shouldn't get rid of divisions. That's why they shouldn't change the seating, is because you play to have home field advantage. And part of that home field advantage is being used to the weather. You think it doesn't bother Packers guys when, they're used to 60 degrees and they got to go down to Tampa and play in 80s and 90s? I'm sure that bothers them. So the idea that, this weather isn't fair. Come on, guys. I'm not wasting any more time on this. Like, we're just being stupid. This is a big win for the Bills. And I honestly think Lamar Jackson deserves more flack. His touchdown to interception ratio in the playoffs is 14-13 for his career. The Ravens have never won a playoff game with Lamar when they were trailing by 10 or more. I understand 10 or more is a lot, but he has never had that come from behind big playoff win. Never. And I really like Lamar. You guys know that. This is not me being like, Lamar, you suck. Lamar, you're the worst. It's not what I'm saying. But the narrative of him being a playoff choker is kind of coming to fruition. Last year, a lot of people, me included, thought that Ravens team was better than that Chiefs team. They lost. This year, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people thought they were beating the Bills. They were the favorites. They lost. I mean, Bill Simmons said in his podcast that he thought this Ravens team was the best team in the NFL. I think it's a bit of a crazy statement from Bill, but just shows you what people were thinking. He obviously watched a lot of football. And the fact that he thought they were the best team, like, that speaks volumes. Like, people really thought this Ravens team was good, and they should. I mean, Lamar Jackson had probably his best season ever, and he's most likely going to win MVP. I repost what Kyle Brandt said on Good Morning Football. One of the best seasons ever, but he deservedly needs some flack for this loss. And I understand you can be like, oh, well, Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversions. I understand that. I think a lot of that was the cold. Mark Andrews had a bad game. I mean, he had that fumble. It really sucks for Mark Andrews. He had a terrible game. It really sucks. But Lamar threw an interception straight to the Bills. It wasn't even to anybody. It was to the Bills. There wasn't any teammate in sight. Lamar deservedly should have some flack. Like, I don't know if that's the proper grammar. I think I messed that up. But Lamar deserves some flack for this. He really does. Because he played badly, at least in the first half. And it's like, oh, they almost won. Mark Andrews messed it up. They shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. If you really think Lamar deserved to win that game, should have put him in that position. Shouldn't have. Here's a fun one for you. The 4 teams that are left, the 4 teams that two of them will go to the Super Bowl, have committed 0 turnovers in the playoffs. That's the difference. That's the difference. As much as the Chiefs frustrate me anymore, as because they used to be my favorite team to watch. They were the most fun team to watch. 2019 Chiefs were so much fun to watch. 2020 Chiefs, so much fun to watch. 21, fun to watch. 22, fun to watch. 23, fun to watch. Like, they were fun to watch. 23, I mean, like, 23 was fun to watch, but not as much as it had been. They're not fun to watch anymore. But I give them credit. They don't make mistakes. They don't mess up. Mahomes doesn't do some stupid stuff. Like, he was kind of making some turnovers early on in the year. He's not been doing that as much. They just don't really mess up. They just let their defense grind it out. The offense hits their spots. They move on. That's what the Chiefs have been doing. And it's been working well. A lot of people probably right now are thinking the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think so. We'll get to my current Super Bowl pick in a bit. You guys know the Bills are in it. Lamar, it's an interesting thing because, like, I don't want to hate on the guy, but I am like, we kind of just eat too easily are like, oh, well, he played well. And it's like, he's going to be the only guy, like Kyle Brandt literally said on Good Morning Football, he's going to be the only ever 3-time MVP who's never been to a Super Bowl. That's not a good look. Like, it's genuinely just not a good look. The guys who have won 3 MVPs, Johnny Unitas, Jim Brown, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Jim Brown didn't win a Super Bowl because they didn't exist then. Obviously. Aaron Rodgers is the only one of 4. Peyton Manning's the only one of 5. I mean, it's just not a good look for Lamar Jackson. Like, it truly isn't. And I think if it's Josh losing that game, it's a very different dialogue. I think it's, Josh Allen's good, but he's not as good as Lamar and Mahomes. But when Josh Allen wins, it's just like, oh, okay, let's see if he can beat the Chiefs. Which I get. But, it's going to come down to Sunday. Like, this Bills-Chiefs thing has been a thing since 2020. And I've went from, you can go back. Like, go back. You guys, if you're somebody who's newer to this show, if so, I appreciate it. I don't know how you found me, but I'm glad you did. Go into the playlists. You can go back. Go to, like, Big Salad Season 2. Go through those episodes. I'm not high on the Bills. Like, go to the Super Bowl prediction, like the playoff predictions episodes. I didn't think Josh Allen was that good. I thought he was overrated. I was not high on Josh Allen. A lot has changed. I thought he was overly reliant on Stephon Diggs. Like, and a lot of the media agreed with me. Like, that's the way a lot of his careers went, where it's like, well, he can't do this, and then he does. Well, he can't do this, and he does. Like, we kind of have continually moved the goalposts on Josh Allen, and within the last year or so, I've kind of stopped and just recognized that, yeah, he is easily the second best quarterback in the NFL, and I think the gap between 1 and 2 is smaller than the gap between 2 and 3. I think Josh is better than Lamar by kind of a lot anymore. I really do. I think he completely outplayed him Sunday. And I think it's indicative of this Bills team, which for my money, without Josh, it's probably a bottom, 5? Maybe bottom 5. Whew. Without Josh, though, this isn't that good of a team. Like, everybody's always like, them Panthers, they don't have any weapons. This Panthers team has no weapons. And I agree. Like, I like some of the guys we have. Like, I really like Adam Thielen. We need him to stick around. Really like Jalen Coker. Really like Jatavion Sanders. But we need a true number 1. I understand that. I don't want to give up the 8th pick for that number 1, but I understand the complaints about the fact we don't really have a true number 1. But the Bills don't either. Can you name me the Bills' receiving touchdown leader? I'm being serious. Can you? Think about it for a second. All right, you have your answer? It's Mac Hollins. Yeah, it's Mac Hollins. You didn't think it was Mac Hollins, did you? Because you probably said Shakir or Keon Coleman. Maybe you said Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox. No, you said it's Mac Hollins. And so people were like, oh, what's the defense? That defense is amazing. I think the Bills do have a good defense. I do. I really do. But offensively? Come on. James Cook, Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, Mari Cooper, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson backing up James Cook. If that team is given to a different quarterback, they're probably not making the playoffs. And I like James Cook. I do. I think James Cook's really good. I got him on my fantasy team. I really like James Cook. I like a lot of these receivers too. And I like this is obviously a talented O-line. Deion Dawkins is great. Josh Allen doesn't have a single all-pro teammate. I think that just kind of speaks, where we're at. And so I think he's elevating talent above anyone else's level. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. I really do. This is my soliloquy for that, I guess. And I actually think that game might be the Super Bowl. Like, I think these might be the 2 best teams. I really do. I think these are the 2 best quarterbacks. I think it's probably the 2 best teams for my money. And I think the winner of it will win the Super Bowl. The Eagles, to me, showed against the Rams that they truly just need Saquon to save them in these big games. And that's what he had to do. And I don't know how long he can do that. And I think it's Kami's team, even though they got like the 28th best defense, like it's not a good defense. that offense with Jaden Daniels is special, and they're on a Cinderella run we haven't seen. I mean, it's very rare you get a Cinderella run to the Super Bowl. We've seen Cinderella runs to the AFC or NFC championships, and they end. I honestly think this Commies team can be in the Super Bowl, and that's a Super Bowl I'm rooting for at this point is Bills Commies. I think that'd be really fun. And now it's time to have the Jaden Daniels dialogue. Jaden Daniels might be what I thought C.J. Stroud was. And I know you're like, whoa, you're hopping all over the place. C.J. Stroud just had a sophomore slump. You know, he's going to be back next year. He's going to be back in action, rolling. I get that. I do. But Jaden Daniels might be in the Super Bowl as a rookie, which no one has ever done. No one's ever done that. And he just does stuff that's special. And I understand you're like, oh, well, they've gotten lucky. They've gotten some, like that tip up in the air that they caught for the walk-off touchdown. I understand they've had lucky moments. They have. But it's like they always say, when you want to win in professional sports, you got to be really good and really lucky. And they've been both. And I kept saying during this year when they were overly hyping him up, I mean, I literally titled a podcast, yeah, he's good, but they're hyping him up like he's Mahomes, right? It's like, we had an insane rookie quarterback year last year. Like, C.J. Stroud had the greatest rookie year of all time, regular season. And I was like, I don't understand why they're hyping up Jaden Daniels that much. He's good, but he's not C.J. Stroud good. Maybe he was better, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe we are just witnessing another very special Rookie of the Year campaign that was similar to last year. Like, maybe just we happen to have back-to-back insanely special rookies. And this has been a good rookie quarterback class. I think Drake May is really good. I do. I think Nixie's going to be fun. I don't think Nixie's ever going to win a Super Bowl. I really don't. I don't know. Caleb Williams, you'll have to ask me. I got to see what Ben Johnson does there. And then J.J. McCarthy, I'd like to see win a Super Bowl, but because I like J.J. a lot, and I think KOC is just going to put him in a system. But I kind of need to see that too. But for the time being, the only one I would really bet on winning a Super Bowl would be most likely Drake May, because I think Vrabel's good, and I think he'll figure things out for him. And then Jaden Daniels. But Daniels is like the top, tippity top. And I think he's already at this point outdone Stroud's rookie year, just based off the playoff success. I mean, he beat the team that was probably most people's favorites to win the Super Bowl, or at least second favorite. I think most people probably would have said the Lions or Chiefs. If you said life on the line, pick a team to win the Super Bowl, they probably would have said Lions or Chiefs. And he beat them by 2 scores. And he played awesome in a loud Detroit stadium that was going bananas. He was unfazed. I just think that's incredibly impressive. And the other thing is, and I know I might be getting too excited here, I think he might be the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. Because it's Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and then is Jaden Daniels 5? I'm assuming so. Which is just kind of nuts. I think he probably is for me at this point. Because that's the spot I was reserving for Stroud. Stroud is struggling, and I need to see him play better. Daniels isn't struggling, dude. It's pretty crazy. Now, granted, once again, when next year comes, teams are going to dedicate more film time to him. Teams are going to try to take him down. We'll have to see how he responds. But there is something to be said of this NFC for a while now has been wide open. And we've been waiting for that quarterback who is just so damn special he could dominate the conference. And I really wanted it to be Bryce Young. And maybe it will still be Bryce Young. Maybe it'll be Bryce versus Jaden for the NFC Championship, and that'll kind of be like the NFC's like Allen and Mahomes thing, but Lamar's also kind of involved there. They kind of have like a 3-way fight going on. But Allen and Mahomes, like the main two. Could Bryce and Daniels be that? I'd love to see that, but that's us hypotheticals. What we're seeing right now is Daniels is the one grabbing that brass ring and being like, yeah, I'm the guy in the NFC. And I think they're going to beat the Eagles. I do. I think if they can beat the Lions, they can beat the Eagles. And I think, Saquon's going to do what Saquon does. And essentially with the Eagles, you just got to bet on if you can outscore them. And that's what the Commies can do. And that's why I think they can beat them. Because the Rams had to play good defense against them. And I give Jared Verse a lot of credit. He played a really good game. They lost. He played really well. And my pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think, is pretty locked. He's already going to win it, and that shouldn't factor in, but like, that definitely was like a big, national television game. He was playing well. It's big for Jared Verse. And as I was watching that game, I was like, whoever wins this, I'm taking the Commies to beat them. Because the Commies could 100% outscore that Rams team. That Commies can 100% outscore the Eagles team. And I don't really think the NFC winner matters. I think the NFC winner will lose to the Bills or Chiefs. I do. Now, if it's Commies, Chiefs, I will be rooting my ass off for the Commies. I will. But I think it's going to be Bills Commies. I really do. That's the Super Bowl I want. That's the Super Bowl I'm hoping for. And I really think it's going to happen. And I think the Bills will beat them. But that'll be really fun. Two guys who have never made it before. Two franchises that haven't made it in a long time. One franchise that's never won it. One franchise that has won it. And their last win was over the Bills, oddly enough. The Super Bowl from the 1992 season. Just kind of crazy. The last time Commies were in the Super Bowl was against the Bills. But, yeah, that's my pick at this point. And that's the end of the NFL section. I want to talk really quickly about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Because I remember I went to see the first one back in February 2020. And, all the stuff with the trailer, and he looks hideous, and they changed it, they fixed it up. And I enjoyed it. I saw some friends. We thought it was fun. I was like, this isn't really my dream Sonic movie. Like, I didn't really love elements of it. I was like, it's a bit generic. Some of the characterization of, like, Eggman was off. Like, I guess I should state, like, as far as my relationship with Sonic, grew up, big Mario guy, played a lot of Mario. I remember very clearly renting Sonic the Hedgehog Unleashed, the one where he turns into a werewolf, on the Wii, and I had fun with that. I rented that from Blockbuster. I had fun with that one weekend. And then I had a Sonic Genesis collection for my DS, and I had Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles on it. And I played all of those all the time in the car. Like, that was one of my go-to games playing my DS was Sonic. And that was when I really enjoyed those games. And then over the years, I played a little bit of Sonic Adventure 1. I have Sonic Adventure 2 on my PC, and I've never played it, and I probably should get on that. But I know the story. I went through a period where I really enjoyed watching the Sonic cutscenes, in middle school. I would watch the full cutscene videos on YouTube where it's all the cutscenes in one sitting. You know what I mean? Like if you search up Sonic Heroes full movie, and it'll just be all the cutscenes from Sonic Heroes. I could still recite that Sonic Heroes song, or at least the chorus, because it's a banger. But I really like the Sonic Heroes cutscenes. I know it's really random, but that just shows where I'm at with the character. Really liked Mario and Sonic the Olympic games. I had Sonic. What's the hoverboard one? Racers DX or something like that? I don't remember, but I really liked that one. I played that a lot when I was younger. That was a fun game on my PS2. But that shows you where I'm at with Sonic, right? I had a Sonic stuffed animal. I was pretty I'm not a huge Sonic guy, but I'm also not it's not I don't care either. I've very much kept up with what the newer releases are. I plan on getting Shadow Generations for my Switch at some point. That's where I'm at. And saw the first movie. It was it's fun, whatever. Not exactly the best thing ever, but I enjoyed it. It is what it is. I wish it was better, but it is how it is. For what it is, it's fun. Second one came out. I went to theater and I thought, this is actually good. I actually really like this. Yes, it has some flaws, but for what it is, I'm enjoying it. It is better than the first movie. They started to lean more into it and what it is and have fun with it, and I enjoyed that. This third movie I saw last weekend, and I fully went into it kind of these Sonic movies are to me, they're kind of, I don't want to say guilty pleasure movies, because you shouldn't have to feel guilty about what you enjoy, but in the same sense, kind of like that. Some people really like the Venom movies, some people like Transformers, the Michael Bay ones, some people really like Fast and Furious. To me, this was that for me. I know that Sonic 1 and 2 aren't really the best, but I really like them. I think they're fun. I own them both on DVD. I have a great time. And that's kind of what I went into Sonic 3 thinking. It would be another one of those. And then I actually loved it genuinely. I genuinely really liked this movie. I think if I had watched it before the end of the month, it would probably be in the Hall of Fame right now. I really loved it. Really did. I think this is the best one. I think this is the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. That's coming from a guy who really liked Detective Pikachu. Like, I thought Detective Pikachu was actually pretty good. I watched that for the first time last year, and I'm honestly thinking I might have to rewatch it this year because a part of me thinks maybe I should have put it in the Hall of Fame because Detective Pikachu is actually really good. Like, not like the greatest movie ever, but like pretty good. I mean, if you haven't seen Detective Pikachu, you should check it out. It's good. The Mario movie is obviously very good, but this is better than the Mario movie. And I like the Mario movie, but the Mario movie is a little safe. This movie is not safe. This movie is wild. This movie is very much very similar to it's basically an adaptation, like a soft adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, which I've seen all the cutscenes for. I never played it. I've seen all the cutscenes, which I thought was awesome. And I love the post-credit scenes. I love where we're heading with this universe. I think at this point I'm allowed to spoil it because came out about a month ago. I think I'm okay. If you haven't seen it, just leave the podcast now. I appreciate you listening. But they reveal Amy and Metal Sonic at the end. And so I think we're going to move into like a Sonic CD type of adaptation. Maybe some time travel. Maybe we're going to get Silver in there. That would be awesome. I just think it's a fun universe, and I think it's going to be hard to top this one, though. This one was kind of perfect. This, to me, there were parts of this where I was like, this doesn't feel real. Like, this feels like if I was younger, and someone was like, and like I'd be hanging out with my friend, and I'd be like, I just wish they made a Sonic movie. And like I listed off what I wanted to see, and I pictured in my head, this would be exactly what I wanted. Like, I was thinking that at the part when like Shadow's driving up like the tower in Japan. I forget what it's called. I think they're in Tokyo. And he's like driving up it, and he does the Akira slide on the tower, and Sonic's racing after him. Like, it was so goofy. But like, that is like what I would have wanted as like an 8-year-old in like a Sonic movie. I'd have been like, well, I wouldn't have called it the Akira slide. I just would have been like, he does a cool slide. But like, I was watching it, and I was like, this is exactly what it like. It doesn't even feel real. Like, it feels like like a fan-made edit got made into a real blockbuster movie that grossed over $400 million and people liked. Which is just insane to me. But that's where we're at with these Sonic movies. They're legitimately, like, I think, good. Like, I plan on showing this trilogy to my kids. And I will say it's kind of funny how it, like, really heavily pulls from Dragon Ball. And it's kind of a bit of an anime itself where it's like you got to struggle through the first one. And then the second one, it's like you can see signs of it getting good. And then by the third one, it's legitimately very good. But it's like you kind of have to watch the first and second one to fully appreciate the third one. Yeah, it's good. Like I think it's really good, and I think if you have any slight interest, you would enjoy it. And I think it's legitimately better than the Mario movie. And that's nothing against the Mario movie. I like the Mario movie, but this was better. It really was. And I just want to say this is the best video game adaptation I've ever seen. That includes the Last of Us TV show. It does. This is the best one ever. I genuinely loved this. I thought it was incredible. I completely loved it. I'm going to have to buy that. The other ones I own on DVD, I got to get this one on Blu-ray because this one is a certified hood classic. That is it from me. Enjoy Championship Sunday. We'll be talking about it next week. See you all in the next one. Got to go fast, isn't that? I mean, it's not like his actual catchphrase, but it kind of is at this point, right?